red, so you're good to go. I'll start us off. I'll just introduce you real quick, and then you can roll. All right, so welcome everyone to Six Mentoring Weapons Wednesday. We've got SaddestClown here joining us today. Thank you so much. Thanks for jumping in.
Thanks for inviting.
Yeah, it's awesome. Glad to have you. So maybe just start off by talking about your loadout and preferences, and then we can jump into a little bit of Q&A and see how it goes from there. Take it away.
Right on. All right. So yeah, my loadout. I'm sure if you've ever watched my stream, you've seen that I'm a very light on heals, very high on explosives sort of player. I kind of look at it from the point of view of, I'm very fortunate to have good players that I play with that I know we're going to stick close and we're going to work together to take people out. Oftentimes, they can lock down a location and put pressure on a team, and I can just run in there and start hucking grenades, which are definitely my favorite thing to do in the game, is just do that fast, heavy damage with short range weapons. So that informs what I use in my loadout. Like, I always want to have a nice, fast, short range weapon like an SMG. I've been enjoying the Matadors or the Uzis or the P90. Generally one of those, sometimes an MP5 if I can't find a good P90. But something that's going to be able to dump damage really fast with a reasonable amount of accuracy and range, so that I can still mid-range with it and short range with it effectively. And then, of course, if I can get close enough, I can throw bombs in and let them do the work for me.
Quick question. It used to be that I didn't hear you mention AK, and some of your videos from, I don't know, a few months back, and then back a ways into the past, you were a big AK fan. What changed for you on that?
Yeah, so it's like, it really comes down to time to kill for me. Like, how fast am I going to be able to take somebody out, especially for those short range battles. And with the damage nerf on the AK that came with the Locked and Loaded update, the AK is just that much less viable. It's not super bad. Ultimately it's 2 more shots. You need to be able to land 2 more bullets in order to take somebody out that's at full health, with that 2-point deduction off of each hit. So it's not that it's not viable. It's still a really good weapon. It's still good for the mid-range fight. It's still good, but it's still good, pretty decent at long range, pretty decent at short range, so long as you can handle the recoil on it. But it isn't quite as, it doesn't hold up quite as good in a short range fight where shotguns and SMGs are gonna kind of win the day.
Yeah.
And actually recently I've been playing a little bit more. Instead of an SMG and AK, I'll play a little bit more with a Magnum and an AK, or and an SMG, because the Magnum gives you that same kind of level of mid-range fight, but you can really just peek, crack somebody, get into cover again, peek, crack somebody, get into cover. You don't have to sit there and expose and hold the angle on someone. You can just hit them once, knock a quarter of their life off, and dip back into cover. So it is a pretty excellent little weapon, and it's Magnum's the new Sacco.
Yeah.
So, sorry. Oh god, oh god. I'm sorry. Okay, I'll fix it.
Trying to hide in there? Don't be embarrassed, bro. I mean, everyone loves you. It's fine.
But
okay, cool. So sorry to interrupt on the AK.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, I still run with it pretty often. It's definitely not the like be all and end all of weapons that I used to just grab an AK and that's all I needed. That's my mid range, my short range, a little bit of long range. I could just unilaterally use it at whatever on whatever I needed. But I feel like the SMGs do still get a little bit of an edge on it nowadays. That it takes just that much longer to take someone down. So.
Mm-hmm. So what are your favorite SMGs? I heard you mention Uzis, and I've seen recently you've been picking up purples and golds anytime you find them. So is it
the
Uzis?
SMGs are just, or the Uzis in particular are just super fun. I know that their ability totally gotten myself into bad situations where I know that I would be in a better position if I had something I could head peek with. And when Metropolis Royale comes back, I'm gonna have to kind of swear off the SMGs because there's so much verticality to that. Or it's not Metropolis Royale, it's Metropolis Arena. When that shows back up, it's going to be, you have to be able to hold onto a wall and shoot at the same time, and SMGs and the Uzis and Matadors aren't going to be as viable anymore.
Yeah.
Because just that lag time of throw the wall down, switch up into the weapon, and start shooting, is an opportunity for your opponent to get the first shots in. Mm-hmm. So, definitely, have always loved the P90. P90 is awesome. You can take down an entire squad on one mag if you have to, and that comes in handy when you're just pushing a squad and need to keep the heat on. So P90 awesome, best, my favorite SMG for sure. It's got a little bit of a recoil, it's got a little bit of a kick, but it's easy to learn how to control that and just kind of slowly pull your lead hand down and keep bullets on target. I've always
Oh, go ahead.
So I've always just told people that want to use the P90 that because there's no reticle on it, or there's no gun mounted crosshair, or red dot sight or anything like that, to just look where the bullets are going and paint your target with the tracers.
Mm-hmm.
So and because the clip is so large, it's it's kind of forgiving, and you can miss a few shots and still wrestle it back into position. So
I was going to ask, is there a P90 you won't pick up? And then the follow-up to that is there a gun that you just will not, absolutely, doesn't matter if it's gold, you won't pick it up?
I really have an aversion to the ump, which is probably pretty well documented at this point. Just because of the rate of fire and the lower damage, and they've beefed it up a little bit. They've brought it back in. It's a little bit more viable now, but I still just don't trust it. and that's probably more superstition at this point than anything else. But I gotta steer clear of the ump. And what was the other part of that question there?
Is there a P90 that you won't pick up? Like, will you avoid 1 stars, or you just any P90 doesn't matter? I'll take it.
You know, any P90 is a good P90. So like, people get really and like I question whether or not I'm just not noticing it, but people get very like adamant that, like, you know, gold is better, you know, like it'll kill you faster or whatever. The damage is the same on all of them. There might be very slight alterations in like rate of fire, but and like I guess the AKs do have like slightly less recoil in the higher tiers, but like generally speaking, the difference between like a 1-star and a 4-star SMG or AR is just clip size.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's a 1-star gun is still a completely viable gun. It's just gonna make you reload it faster. So, like, you know, as an example, in the case of the FAL, there's no difference between a 1-star and a 4-star. Mm-hmm. Because it's a semi-automatic. It's going to hit it's going to hit the same amount of shots every, you know, and then you'll just end up reloading it. It's like the difference of like 15 shots to, you know, 20 shots when you're, you know, a reasonable distance away before a reload. It doesn't even matter.
Yeah, it's not like you're 5 feet away from. You're not using a FAL typically in close quarters.
Right, in close quarters combat, and like, and you know, the worst thing that can happen in that like head to head is, you know, I ran out of bullets and the other guy still has an opportunity to shoot me, or like, you know, both of you are scrambling for the reload and like they get there first. So, you know, that's another reason why like P90 is just awesome, because like if they have anything else that, you know, doesn't have that huge clip on it, it's it puts them at a disadvantage if they miss any shots. Like MP5, you know, has a little bit faster rate of fire, but it's, you know, it's going to empty out real quick, and if you weren't on point with it, it's going to cost you on the reload.
Yep, that makes sense. So part of your loadout you mentioned is grenades, but it's not just part of your loadout. Can you talk about like how
kind of a major part of my loadout?
Right? That's not giving it its due. It's part of your loadout. Well, it's more than that. Right.
Half to 3/4 of my loadout is generally grenades. So I love them. I've always loved them. When I was playing the game at the very beginning, you know, my favorite thing to do was, you know, load up on grenades and climb the tower and just drop them on people and finish them off with a shotgun.
Enemies.
Yeah, just like let's see how many people I can hit with one grenade. And like it, I had a buddy back then that showed me that and like kind of explained, you know, like you got to just pay attention to where the grenade blows up in reference to where the end of the little arrow arc stops. So it's gonna go a little bit past where that arc of like arrows stops, and then it's gonna blow up. And if you can, target that spot in like that imaginary spot in air, like directly on your enemies, they're not even gonna hear the grenade show up before it blows up. So like they won't have time to hear the beeping before it just takes them out. So yeah, like that was kind of the first thing that got me to really understand the dynamics of the grenades, and then applying that to more of the ground-based combat of like, okay, if I toss it off of this building and bounce it a little bit, that'll give me the right timing to hit the guy that's hanging on the top of that wall. Like you can kind of figure out where the grenade's going to blow up in reference to where people are and like where you bounced it. So it's just a fun weapon, and then like because you're always like anytime I walk, like at this point, anytime I walk past a grenade, I'm like, what can I drop to make sure that this can come with me?
And
because
not
I don't
totally
know if I'm gonna
risk.
find them out there, out in the wild. Like,
like
if I've got heals, like I can probably get heals from somebody else's body after I've thrown a grenade at them, but they might not have a grenade, so I better have a few more grenades in my backpack, and that'll make it so that I always have more for when I need them. And then as well, like I think about it in terms of because I do end up taking that short range battle a lot. Like I look at it kind of like I'm the goblin sapper on my team. Like I'm gonna go in and I'm going to like do as much damage as I can. I might not take that whole team down before I die, but if I only leave them with a 50 pot, then that's all they get out of my body, other than the array of grenades that hopefully they don't use effectively against us. But yeah, like I kind of look like I've been doing a little bit more of the shield sodas these days, just to make sure that I have something to kind of regenerate some health with, or regenerate some shields with. But I would definitely prioritize just being able to dump a bunch of damage and get somebody else out, and then just like take whatever healing I can off of them.
Yeah. So grenades for you started pretty early on in your gameplay. Yeah. That's cool.
Definitely.
Cool. Well, maybe we'll just wrap up with a tip. Like, there are a lot of people that are really good at the game, right? And they have their strengths. And as you kind of watch their streams or you play with them, you can see, man, this guy's really good at this, or man, she's really good at that. And everyone kind of plays to their strengths. What advice or tips do you have on kind of finding your ideal loadout?
I mean, honestly, don't be too precious about finding the thing that, like, if you focus too much on finding the gun that works for you, that's like the perfect thing, you're missing opportunities to get good at, to like get better with all of the ones that you're not necessarily the best at. if you know the strengths and weaknesses of the guns in reference to each other, then you'll know like what you can accomplish in whatever situation you find yourself in, because there'll just be times where you've got to improvise. You can get knocked down and your teammate goes to the other side of the map and and gets you back up, especially with like the sweatier lobbies, like people will go on that hunt and it takes a little while to shake the trail. And like I'm not talking about like, oh, my teammate like bailed on me. I'm talking about like my teammate had to pull some evasive maneuvers and we got up, but like we're running from the zone and we gotta just...
You're saying your teammate runs clear across the map and pulling evasive maneuvers, and then you were saying don't be picky about what you have to pick up, I think,
right,
is what you were saying. Okay.
Yeah. So I'll kind of start from the earlier statement of like, there are times where, in sweatier lobbies, the you and one of your teammates will get knocked down, and your third is just getting chased. Because that team's coming and they want to get the chime out on your squad. And they pull some heroic stuff and are able to pull you back in, and, then you've got to just, like, run from the zone and, just improvise with whatever you've got. And if you can pull that off, you've got a really good story to tell. So, then you just kind of have to work with the guns that are available and know how to use them, know how best to, work with what you have. And yeah, like, if all that you get is a shotgun out of that, then you know that the rest of this round I just have to use all of my hard cover and sneak up as close as I can and try to get those hits in. And if all you get is an op, then I need to find a nice high location and try to do as much damage as I can. But don't be too precious about finding the perfect thing, because like at the end of the day, if you can be moderately good at everything, it might not be quite as good as like being the best at one thing, but at least you'll be versatile and you'll be able to hop back in and try to do something.
Yep, that makes sense. And last question: how do you suggest people do that? I hear people saying TDM is best for that. I think that it's a great way to do it. Great way to get good at different guns. Or Training Park, another great way to do it. Any advice or preferences on your part? Do you prefer Training Park over TDM for just getting that base of knowledge?
For base of knowledge, I would definitely advocate for TDM. Just because it also adds the element of the PvP combat, so that you do kind of get to know, like, okay, if I'm going after an op, what are my best options? If I'm going after, if I'm going to be using an AK, what's it going to have strength against? And who's going to have an AK, or who's going to have an advantage over me if I put myself in like a head-to-head against, say, a shotgun? Like, what range am I going to be safer if I am like fighting that shotgun with an AK? where they're not going to be able to land every pellet on me. So that takes away their damage per second advantage in that close range fight. So it's all kind of like, and just the fact that like TDM gives you a little bit more of the like work under pressure experience, where certainly being able to like analyze and take your time with all the weapons and like learn recoil patterns and everything is enhanced in the training park. You won't have the like calm, quiet, like take
no
your
one's
time,
killing me.
Luxury of that when you're actually playing against other players. So just the fact that like TDM gives you the opportunity to like fight, die, like rapid fire, just jump back in there and keep on practicing. Like I feel like that's going to serve you better in the long run, in gaining skill and learning how to keep a cool head in an actual fight.
Cool. Yeah. Hey, thanks for jumping in today. We're gonna put this up on YouTube, on a Six Mentoring YouTube channel. We'll share it with everyone in the server, and really appreciate you coming out today.
Yeah, thank you for the invite. And
awesome.
we'll see you out there.
Cool.